There's a criminal investigation. That could be a while. There's all kinds of civil litigation. And I thought there were a number of misconceptions, most of it from sources I really wouldn't concern myself about. But a couple that I did concern myself about, where there were these authoritative statements about this is what happened. The sheriff's department hasn't even released a report to the DA yet. The reason I wanted to sit down with you is because I really feel like I can't wait for that process to end in February, March. I mean, I'm not asking them to speed it up for my benefit. That's ridiculous. But I am saying that they're going to do what they need to do. And I wanted to come to talk to you to say that I would go to any lengths to undo what happened. I would go to any lengths to undo what happened.
Okay, already. What's that?
I said, don't say that too loud.
I mean, he said it twice, right?
Yeah.
My first thought is, okay, there's an ongoing investigation. There's civil cases that have been filed. He's giving those as reasons why he wants to talk right now, which for me as a lawyer, I'm like, those are exact reasons why not to do it. Like, why not to do this interview?
Yeah.
And then saying like, the investigation, he wants it to end. Like, it's almost as if he's trying to say like, he wants to, part of the reasoning for his interview is to speed up the investigation, to make it end faster. I don't know. It might end sooner as a result of this interview if it results in charges.
How'd you like to end in an arrest with a probable cause warrant? Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay. Anyway, I just had those thoughts.
Incidentally, they definitely have probable cause, whatever else they don't have.
Oh yeah. Probable cause is here for sure.
Yeah.
Question, and the one you must have asked yourself 1,000 times: how could this have happened?
Well, there's two things I want to say about that. One is that when I talk about this, my concern is that I don't sound like I'm the victim, because there is a victim.
And
there's a woman who died.
He's a shooter.
Yeah.
And my friend got shot. He's my friend. And she was a new friend. I met her and we worked together on some of the mapping out of what we're going to do on the film, which, in the movie terms, if you go make a movie with Scorsese, you and the DP don't sit down and they solicit your ideas of how to make the film. You know what I mean? In the case of Helena, we sat down collaboratively and talked a lot about what we wanted to do in that a precious amount of time we had. But I want to make sure that I don't come across like I'm the victim, because we have two victims here. And the second thing is that all of what happened on that day leading up to this event was precipitated on one idea, and that is that Helena and I had something profound in common. And that is, we both assumed the gun was empty.
Sorry. Oh, crap. How many minutes in were we?
So,
but I wanted to pause it there because that was a huge.
It's a little blaming. It's a little blaming the victim, isn't it? It's a little blaming the victim. It's like, yeah, she also assumed the gun is empty, so that's also on her for being in front of the gun that I fired.
I'm not a big fan of this whole. I didn't have to check the gun aspect of this. It just, when you treat, again, this is leveraging my experience in the military, having dealt with many different types of firearms along the way throughout my career. As I went more in this Buddy the Elf costume. Like, you always want to treat the weapon like it's loaded. I mean, I'm sure that this has been, stated over and over again, even with the Rittenhouse trace with Binger, bad boy Binger pointing the rifle at, in the courthouse with the freaking finger over the trigger well. That you should always treat that thing like it's alive at all times. I'm sorry. It just
Binger.
Well, and also one of the things that he said is that we both assumed that the gun was empty. Which, if we're talking about, I mean, we're talking at least negligence already at this point. At the very least, negligence, because anyone handling any kind of a firearm and pointing it at anyone, and then manipulating it in any way to assume that it's empty is so negligent, to the point that it probably is reckless. What, Kurt and Nate, what do you guys think?
See, that really all depends. I think if it was just some gun that he picked up and started pointing it at people, then yes, you're 100% right. You treat all guns if they're loaded. But in this case, we know we have an armorer, we know we have someone who's responsible for handing me, and as we'll see later, if someone hands me a gun on a movie set and I'm an actor and they say, this gun is good, this gun's unloaded, this gun is cold, then it's hard to then say that I'm negligent in trusting the procedures that we already have in place. Now, if those procedures fail, then that's one thing. But to get me criminally culpable because somebody handed me a gun and told me that it was safe, and that person's always handed me guns, all during the movie set, and they've always been safe when they've handed it to me before. It's just hard for me to say that leads to automatic criminal culpability.
Well, so I guess let me take a step back, because for me, it's not just that assumption on its own, but it's in context of everything that we do know about what happened in this case. So, for example, that the armorer was not the one that handed the gun to him; that it was David Halls that handed him the gun this time, and other various details. And I'm also I have, the more that information has come out on this case, the more I've kind of come down harder on Alec Baldwin in terms of his potential culpability in this case. And I think that, his years of experience also pulls some weight in this case too, because he has been on a lot of sets that have had firearms. So
he should basically be acting like I mean, with all the experience that he has, I just can't help but, assume this idea that he should basically be an armorer in and of himself after having worked with so many armorers. Where he's like, I know what they do. I know this is what they've done in the past. I've seen their behaviors. I've seen. I mean, there's I can't help but reference this video of Will Smith that's been floating around on the internet. I'm not sure if anyone else has seen this, where literally within days of this whole incident occurring, it's Will Smith is there with a whole bunch of other people behind the scenes, I think, for a movie, and one of the guys picks up a gun and he points it, and he basically hits his hand, basically, the guy who's picking up the pistol, and he takes it out of his hand and he unloads it or checks to make sure that there's nothing in the chamber, just because. And again, it just goes to show you that it's not just Alec Baldwin who has dealt with guns before. There've been several others. And people like Will Smith are able to, basically, in that moment, in that small little anecdote, obviously it's, behind the scenes, no one's, hurt, no live ammo, anything like that. But again, he's treating it very seriously in that specific video. And it's just sort of like Alec Baldwin just totally dropped his guard in this particular instance. It's just, what more can be said about that?
Yeah. Yep. Any other thoughts? Hopefully I refound.
How dare you, Alec? Sorry, I had to get the buddy admonishment in there.